Welcome to Guysuco Roundup. I'm Angela Abraham Parks. While our employees are drawn to the call to mobilization, the second crop progresses, with sugar production nearing 10,000 tons. Markets in the Caribbean are satisfied with shipments from the estates and the Demerara Sugar Terminal. Do stay tuned for more on this week's program of Guysuco Roundup.
From the very land that gave sugar around the world the name Demerara comes the finest quality of cane sugar, Demerara Gold. Enjoy the real thing from the original source, the rich, fertile Demerara coastline where sugarcane has been harvested since the mid-17th century. The result is here for you to enjoy. Wherever this unique sugar flavor is needed, Demerara Gold is the ingredient that will always create a stir.
Departmental managers, having shared the vision of the corporation, are joined by the Industrial Relations Department functionaries who reinforce commitments.
What we have seen over the past years, negotiations has been the same give and take. But over the last few years, what the corporation has been doing is to give an increase to a level that is satisfactory to the workers, but what we've been having is not that economic return from the worker. So we'll have to manage our management at the estate level centrally, along with the union, the stakeholders, and to see that whatever is given, we have an economic return from it, because we have to have concerns of attendance addressed, concern of strike reduced, and concern of people show commitment towards the work. At the IR department, we will have to engage the union centrally and engage the workers centrally also. The planning out of crop, the planning commencement of the new crop, my plan is to meet with every representative at the pre-crop level and a group of rank and file, and to reinstitute our concern about their attendance and strike and how they handle grievances. We will have to have a new dispensation, how we deal with these things, and what happened over the past few years will not be tolerated and has to be done differently, and we have to adhere to the agreements that is there with us. Centrally, we'll have to engage the union as to how we approach the level of attendance, absenteeism, because it's been atrocious over the past few years. It's no secret in Guysuco that the labor cost is over 60%, and that's one of the most critical expenses that we have in the company. And added to that cost is extraneous costs we pay for extraneous matters, like obstacles and whatsoever, which has to be negotiated on a daily basis. So I think we need to manage more prudently and to see how we increase our cane yields and to provide to the workers clean fields, clean condition of work, to negate any demand from extraneous payment. One of the most concerns we have with strike is the demand for price in the cane field, and the demand to cut and stack, that is putting cane in the ground in rainy weather. We have to redefine our position and to work collectively to get this thing done.
Teamwork, commitment, dedication, right? May, June. What is synonymous with those 2 months? May, June. Rain. What we were grinding, we had production in those, well, entire May and 2 weeks in June. But what is disappointing, and is again also hurtful for me, is when you look at, you see this market cane harvester strike report from May and June 2020. When you look at this, and this number here, and then you look at this here, also this. Right? These 4 things. I mean, May, we had COVID we were dealing with in March, April. With the weather being good, we were able to push the crop because we had to get the production. But then when you see these numbers here, guys, good sense gotta prevail. Good sense gotta prevail. If it's by hook or by crook, you guys are gonna have to help us to have good sense prevail. We can't say, listen, it's them buying, you know. It's not them buying, it's all of us when we consume with these things. Because imagine we didn't make our target, but yet we were far behind because of all things that was happening. But we continue to have, you know, these little things here where you got a strike, disrupt things. Imagine June, boy, June, when we only grind up to 12th of June, you get 2 strikes. 2 strikes. This is the industry strike report for the same period. We had a total of 4 strikes, 6 of layer 1. You see, the 6 is only cane harvester strike, right? Because I got 6 conditions before. When you look at here, you had 2, but now you get 5. Now if I tell you what happened here, I think y'all know. You had recleaners striking because they don't want to give the recleaning standards, which are the standards documented, but because we weren't enforcing on the estates, when we started enforcing it, people don't want to do it. When head office representative come to these pre-crop sessions, is to give us, or to share with everybody the industry perspective, because you would have gotten everything about the estate, right? But you need to also understand what is happening at our sister estates and what is happening in the industry. Now let's look at algae, forest crop. I want to focus, while there are a lot of numbers there, focus on only 2 columns. You see this one marked total here? Look at the headings, right? Grinding time, out of cane time, time loss, other, sugar production, cane harvest and attendance, right? But I want us to focus on this total column straight across, and then second crop 2019, 20 weeks, those 3 numbers. Now look at, okay, first of all, let me focus on this. The estate ground for 60 weeks, right? 60 weeks the factory ground for. Yeah, Arden. I'm looking at Arden because I'm giving the industry perspective, right? 16 weeks. But in reality, the factory only ground for 9 weeks, you know. Because if you take this total grinding hours here and divide by 140, it's 9 weeks. We lost 8 weeks out the cane and time loss. That's inefficiency. This is Blair month. Right? This is Blair month. The same thing like Arden, right? Look at those same columns. Look at the same numbers. Blair month went for 18 weeks. Right? You see this thing here? This blue thing here, not weekly production incentive. And you see this yellow here, unscheduled grinding weeks. So from 12 to 18 is unscheduled grinding weeks, right? But the blue one here, you can't see none. I would overemphasize this because we already know what happened here. But then when you look at this total for grinding hours, 1,592. If you take this and divide it by 140 hours again, the factory in reality ground for 11 weeks. We lost 6 weeks due to out of cane time and other issues. So inefficiency again. These are real numbers we're looking at, you know.
The second crop breeds greater expectations as there is a campaign on to stir interest and believability.
Guysuco has about 8 to 10,000 employees. I'd say about 8,000 employees. We also are connected to 6,000 pensioners. There are about 200 businesses that are dependent on Guysuco, either directly or indirectly. They are, and our community input is also great. It's significant. We also need financing. So in terms of acquiring the requisite financing that is needed for our new business plan, so to speak, which is from 2020 to 2025. The I Believe in Guysuco campaign is not only about mobilizing the stakeholders so that we focus on the immediate. The immediate for us is our second crop 2020. We have a target to meet, and it's mobilizing employees around that second crop, and stakeholders rather, so that we can achieve the target for the second crop. But it's also about mobilizing them around the new business plan, so to speak, and sort of getting the stakeholders to focus on achieving the goals and objectives in that new business plan. because the organization has gone through, sometimes we take it for granted that organizations and the employees in the organization might have gone through a difficult or turbulent experience and within the organization, and we take it for granted that through some natural process they're just going to sort of regroup again, refocus again. But here it is again. The I Believe in Guysuco campaign is now harnessing and channeling, and also it's about reflecting.
Achievements begin with a belief. It is molded in confidence and shaped by trust and interdependence. Albion Portmorant Estate is set to produce close to 40,000 tons of sugar. Blairmont, more than 20,000 tons of sugar. And Iflut, in excess of 11,000 tons of sugar. Management is also finding creative and innovative ways to keep employees motivated and engaged despite the disruptive transition process, which is now compounded by the challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Depression, it's a change in mood. I'm a happy, jovial person, always talking. Like if Miss Blaze comes to work one day and she depressed people, she always comes to work on a high, number 10 on the scale, always happy. So when you notice your colleague suddenly has this mood swing, want to talk, don't want to do anything, for one day, it's probably normal because you know what? Things happen in our life and cause us to be thrown off of the normal path. Might have a debt, might lose some valuable possession or something, and you come to work in a depressive state. That's all right for you to have your mood and so on. But when it's happening for 2 weeks, that's when we say, it's terrible. Something has to happen. That's when you become clinically depressed and you need intervention. So that's when you have to take a little time out to talk. Don't ignore, because you might see the person being withdrawing 1 week. You can get over it. But after 2 weeks, you need to talk to them, find out what's happening. Or you make erratic behavior. This is a nice person, always, but the person just doing things that crazy, giving away stuff, their prized possession. They might have this lovely top and they decide that, yo, look, take this top here. You know, they're not sleeping. You notice when somebody comes to work, you see in their eyes, they didn't have enough sleep all day. I went to work at some place and I said, you didn't sleep. She said, lady, I didn't know when last I had a good night's rest. You see the eyes, she wants to sleep, but because of different situation in her life, right? So you might notice that. Or a loss of energy. You know, sometimes you come to work and I ain't got no energy to put on this computer, I ain't got no energy to do this thing, and so on. So those are some of the signs that tells you that something is wrong. But it's okay for it to happen once or twice, but if it continues 2 weeks straight, mind the business. Talk about it. Ask the person a question. Oh, why are you here at home today? Why are you going to eat so much? You see them eating a whole lot of churches, then they want KFC. And you know the person is a health-wise, they would normally have their steams and pills or whatever. Something is wrong. Find out what's happening. But you know what? In the workplace, though, more specifically, several things can lead to that. Sometimes all of us here are from a family. We come to work, guys, the family work. But we come with issues, right? And things don't always go as smooth as we would like it to go. All of us wish that we don't have any issues out there, but unfortunately, the reality is we have issues out there. How do you deal with the issues at home? Affect the way you at work? Because when I'm upset at work, I don't say good morning, and I'm the boss. Girl, look, do this thing. I want this assignment done right away or whatever. And we treat our staff like that. Or sometimes we don't say anything to them, but we expect they're like robots. Oh, yes, Miss, we want this, or Sir, probably want this. And then we have them on this hyper. and expect them to do things the way that it should be done. But you have your mood, as we call it, and I'm not in a good mood, but you're expecting the person that you're managing, and the person even above is supposed to be able to swing into your mood or probably know what you want and just give it to you. Wouldn't that cause mental illness, too? And conflict and all of these things in the workplace? Yes, it will. So those are some of the issues that we have to be mindful of how we deal with them in the workplace so as to prevent. Because if you're not mentally well, you can't do anything. You know what our minister says? Well, the former minister said, there is no health without mental health. If you're not mentally well, you cannot do anything. You cannot do and you cannot function. So we must be mindful. Sometimes we take it for granted that the other party or the person that we're dealing with, they have challenges just like us, but they might be dealing with theirs different. So you think that, oh, your entire world is falling apart, and everybody must feel the pressure. But my world is falling apart too. But I come to work and I'm sitting and I'm getting my work done. So we must take those things into consideration and be mindful, Probably I'm having this, somebody else is having a The managing the deadline has to be done, and you'll be so inconsiderate.
You can see all of you have different ideas, and everything that you do, I do as well. Another thing that, in addition to what some folks mention as well, I love to do yoga as well. And again, dancing and all of the things that will also make me active. Because the other thing, as you can see, I'm kind of hyper, right? So I like to also do things to meditate as well. Because I know that I have a lot of energy and so forth, sometimes I need to, these are my people, right? So sometimes I need to bring it down and I need to go introverted and go into myself. So one of the things that I do, which is very similar to prayer, for you, like just going within, is I meditate. I take some time and I just be by myself and I think. And meditation is very easy, so I will do meditation. I'll also do a lot of breathing exercises, right? So breathing exercises to kind of help me to stay calm. Because sometimes we're in a situation, we have stressful moments. It's very important to come up with things that maybe you can even do in the moment to take care of yourself. So for example, 2 things that I want to share with you is we're going to actually really quickly, because we still have a few more minutes, I'm going to do a breathing exercise with you. And then the first thing that I wanted to say, especially when you're feeling upset and angry and, annoyed about something, one of the things that you can do is you can kind of just give yourself a hug, right? So you can, especially when you're feeling upset, one of the things that you can do is just tap yourself. And it's a very calming thing. Before you even realize, I'd like you to try anytime you're feeling like upset or something, just kind of give yourself a hug and just kind of tap yourself whenever. It's kind of like that same idea, like you guys know, like the woosah. Like, where you count to 10 and you're like, woosah. All right, okay, before I jump on somebody, before I get on a certain way, I'm going to count to 10, right? And take a breather and relax for myself. All right, so speaking of breathing, what I'd like to do is I'd like to do this breathing exercise. So what I'd like you to do is just push back from the table a bit. If you have something in your hand, I don't want anything in your hands. Place your feet firmly on the ground. All right? And your hands, I'd like you to put your hands on your thighs. Just put your hands on your thighs. All right, get comfortable as you can. All right? If you like, you can close your eyes. I normally, when I do this, I like to close my eyes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to count to 6. So when I count to 6, I want you to breathe in as deeply as you can. So when people first do this, it's not comfortable at first because honestly, you think you're breathing, but we actually don't really breathe, right? We take a lot of shallow breaths during the day, but if we actually use our oxygen to the ability that we would have a totally different mind frame. But right now, as you notice, we're just really taking shallow breaths. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna count to 6. You guys are gonna breathe in. Then you're gonna breathe in through your nose, right? Not with your mouth, you're gonna breathe in through your nose, so it's gonna be, Ms. James, can you just count for me? Wait, I'm just gonna show you guys, all right? So it's gonna look like this.
1, 2,
And then to exhale, I'm going to breathe out of my mouth. Miss James, count for me. So that's what that's going to look like, right?
Company Health and Safety Officer Earl Morris joins our broadcast ahead of Guest Lecture 2019.
And there was a reason why I brought the mask, my mask, and it's to give something of a demonstration. Now, this is the face mask, I have to use this face mask. There's a special way in which you ought to put it on and to take it off. If you're dealing with a virus that would lodge on surfaces, possibility is that if you have the mask and would come into contact with someone, probably would have sneezed, or through speech, droplets get onto the surface here. Assuming that the person has the virus would be present on the surface of this mask. So when you would have put it on, trying to do a demonstration, you ensure that first of all the nose piece is fitted on properly. You adjust the top mask, the top band. This must go above here, somewhere more like off center of your head, and the other one just around by the kind of neck. When that is done, it's important that you wash your hands, because you would have made contact with the outer surface of the mask. And you wash your hands. The same thing is done when you finish, when you have to take it out. You need to ensure that again, when you take it off, you wash your hands again. So you're making contact with the outer surface. We would have seen, and this is my personal observation, is not necessarily what the take is, we would have seen that a number of health workers in many of the countries would have gone down, would have died. They would have contracted the virus, even though they would be wearing the PPE. So it meant that somewhere along the line, they would have had contact. Yeah. And it's my humble opinion that much would have come from the failure to put on and take off the mask. Yeah. Because we tend to believe that by wearing a PPE that you're protected. But we also must remember the reason why we wear the PPE is because the danger is there. And in this case, the danger is the virus. The virus is on the outside. And as I said before, it will make contact with the outer surface of the mask. And because of that, you need to ensure you wash your hand or sanitize your hand after. There are different types of masks. There are those N95 masks, which we are using for our medical person and persons who work in the chemical weed control program. And those masks are recommended for persons who, like the medical people and those in that area as we mentioned. And then we also have the fabric masks. That's the one that we have been giving workers generally. Those fabric masks are considered washable. So you can wash them and use them again. We would have sent out guidelines across the state for person to what to do, how to wash, how to put on, and how to take off those masks as well. So person understand what they need to do. Very simple step into of working from home or shift arrangement in offices, and that is because of the need for social distancing. And the traditional layout of offices is that we are virtually in close confined to each other. In some cases, less than 6 feet apart from each other. So by working from home or on a shift arrangement, we're reducing the number of persons in the workplace. So the chances of coming into contact with each other reduce. And so we've been using that means to assist in social distances, and here we talk about working from home, rotational working. So we've been using that arrangement to assist in them. We also be making use of, encouraging the use of the Zoom for meeting. So we don't have many persons in the thing. So we make use of Zoom, or whether it's Skype, or what other social media available to ensure that persons don't come directly into contact with each other. So those are things to assist us in social distance. Also in assisting social distancing is that it's something that we have not done but is intended to, is that the intention is to raise the height of these cubicles and to raise them higher and use prospect around.
And with that, we've come to the end of this week's program of Guysuco Roundup. Thank you for staying tuned. Do stay safe until next time. I'm Angela Abraham Parks, and I believe in Guysuco.